Each and every Tuesday, we like to turn the hands of time back as we take a look at history in our local region. And if you remember last week from history out there, Harold Peacock told us about 1861 when the Toowoomba constabulary allowed a lot of prisoners to escape. Well, there's more to that story, and I'm very pleased to say Harold joins me on the line. How are you, mate?
I'm very well, thanks, Damo. Yeah, there is a lot more to that story. In fact, there's one story about Scotchy Lawson, who refused to join those escapees.
He was a good lad, wasn't he?
Oh, well, I'll let you decide that.
All right, well, let's get into the story.
Yeah, look, amongst those many Toowoomba escapees in 1861 was the convict Dick Austin. Now, in 1856, he committed the biggest robbery in Ipswich history, and in 1861, he was in the Toowoomba lockup when a mate tried to bribe the constable in charge. That didn't work, and so on Wednesday, the 7th of July, 1861, another bribe would be attempted when Austin and another prisoner were to be escorted from the Toowoomba lockup down to Brisbane.
Right.
Now, that other prisoner was William Boyd Lawson, who was commonly called Scotchy Lawson.
Okay.
Now, Scotchy had only 5 days left on his term and was talking of bringing an action for false imprisonment. Now, he was a butcher in Roma, and what a character he was. For example, later on in 1867, the civil list for Roma Courthouse read something like this: Murphy versus Lawson, Lawson versus Murphy, Murphy Brothers versus Lawson and Co., Lawson and Co. versus Murphy Brothers, Lawson and another versus Murphy and another, Murphy and another versus Lawson and another, and so on. This went on for months, and there was actually excitement in the town when a rumour circulated that the civil list did not contain a single case of Lawson and Murphy. But of course it did. It continued on.
Of course.
Now, then the first municipal election was held in Roma. That was in 1867. And of course, Scotchy Lawson ran for office. Now, Thomas McEwen, he became Roma's first mayor, and Scotchy tied for the 6th and final seat. Now, the police magistrate made the casting vote, and sad to say, Scotchy was denied his place in history on that inaugural council.
Right.
But Scotchy couldn't wait to get his own back, and it was 6 months later, in 1868, that he was charged with stealing a black mare, the property of none other than the mayor, Thomas McEwen.
Oh.
Now, during Mr. McEwen's absence from home, Scotchy sold a horse to a Chinaman, but the horse was in fact not his own, but Mr. McEwen's. And on Mr. McEwen's return, he noticed the horse was missing, saw it in some paddock, and so took it back. So the result was the mayor, the Chinaman, and Scotchy all ended up in court, and who knows what happened. Now, it was reported that Scotchy's mere proximity to town caused double vigilance on the part of the police, and the very sight of him immediately threw the mayor and the town council into convulsions. In fact, on a number of occasions, Scotchy was only in town for a few hours when he was summoned before the magistrates. He was just a regular character there for the whole district. But his legal challenges reached a crescendo in 1875 when he was committed to trial in Toowoomba for willful murder. Now, he was behind the bar at Stacey's Hotel at Buranda, which is about 65 miles outside of Charleville, when a man insinuated that Scotchy was a loafer. Now, Scotchy took offence and punched the man's forehead, and the man fell onto the ground.
Right.
So 4 days later, the man died.
Oh, dear.
The doctor said it was from concussion hitting the back of his head. Of course, Scotchy's witnesses, they all said that the man fell on his side. So Scotchy got off. Now, but back to 1861, that's when Scotchy and the convict Dick Austin were being escorted to Brisbane. This is the escape.
Right.
Now, Austin's mate, who tried to bribe the constable to lock up, he tried again and was successful in bribing at least one of the escorting constables, because when the party got to Gatton Creek, Austin was allowed to escape.
Right.
But it was in somewhat remarkable scenes that Scotchy Lawson was the only one of the party who tried to stop him, and then was eager to recapture Austin and go after him. That's because the escapee had got off with a pocket knife and some other things that belonged to Scotchy. He didn't want to get in the way.
No.
Anyway, look, Scotchy became folklore within Toowoomba and the Warrego districts. His legend even lived on through one of his children. You see, while Scotchy failed in his bid for the inaugural Roma Council, his son Bill was elected onto not one but 3 councils. It was probably a record. It was in Roma, Gladstone and Brisbane. Has anyone else ever been elected to 3 different councils? Scotchy's family has a record. So Scotchy Lawson refused to go away. He refused to run away even after his death.
Wow. Now, there is a story and a half, isn't there?
That's right. The Lawson family should be proud. That day in 1861, Scotchy would not leave the police. In fact, he wanted to capture the escapee to get his pocket knife back.
There you go. He was a determined young man, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's right. And look, he actually he was up for cattle rustling a fair bit, but of course he got off that in Roma, and that's probably another story I'll tell you about, because Roma was always letting cattle rustlers go.
There you go. Now you're going to post this story up on your website?
Absolutely, I will. These stories go up every Friday morning. And you can find history out there on all the socials, on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And the story will be on my website, historyouthere.com.
There you go. Appreciate it, mate. We'll look forward to catching up again next week.
I'll be coming to you live from Perth, so a special story next week for you.